Today we are going to study English reader of class 5th. Now we are going to study. Okay, this is chapter 11, which name is A Man Without Head. Okay, this is story about a man without head. Now we are going to start. A stranger with the bandage on his face went into the little parlor of the Coach and Horses Lodge. It was about 5:30 in the morning. He remained there until midday, the door and windows shut. No one knew what he did in there, and nobody dared to go near him. All the time, he must have eaten nothing. Thrice he rang his bell loudly and continuously, but no one answered him. Now and then people heard him walk up and down, and twice they heard a loud smashing of bottles. The little group of scared but curious pupils increased. Some young fellows dressed in black joined the group. One of them even went up the yard and tried to peep through the windows. Inside, in the darkness of the parlor, the stranger sat hidden in his long coat, hat, and dark glasses. About noon, he suddenly opened the parlor door and shouted, Mr. Hall, Mr. Hall appeared. Mr. Hall appeared. Do you want your bill, sir? She said, why wasn't my breakfast brought? Why haven't you prepared my meal and answered my bell? Do you think I live without eating? Why isn't my bill paid? Said Mr. Hall. That's what I want to know. I told you 3 days ago I was waiting for my money. I told you 2 days ago I wasn't going to wait for any money. You can't grumble if your breakfast isn't ready on time if my bill aren't ready on time, can you? The pupil cheered and chorused, Hear, hear. The stranger looked around angrier than even everyone in the bar felt that Mr. Hall had got the better of him. His next word showed that they were right. Look here, my good woman, he began. I've told you my money hasn't come. Money indeed, said Mr. Hall. Still, I suppose I may have some money in my pocket. I wonder where you found it, said Mr. Hall. That seems to annoy the stranger very much. He stamped his foot. What do you mean? He said. That I wonder where you found it, said Mr. Hall. And before I do anything else, you have to tell me one or two things I don't understand. I want to know what you have been doing in my room upstairs. I want to know how your rooms was empty when no one saw you go out and how you got in again. People here come in by the doors. That's the rule of the house, and I want to know. Suddenly, the stranger raised his claws hands and said, Stop with such anger that she stopped talking at once. You don't understand, he said, who I am or what I am. I'll show you. By heavens, I'll show you. Then he put his hand over his face and pulled off something. Here, be said. He stepped forward and gave something to her. When she saw that it was, she screamed loudly, dropped it, and staggered back. It was stranger's nose. The false nose, pink and shining, rolled out of her hand and onto the floor. Then the stranger took off his dark glasses. He took off his hat, his moustache, and his bandage. Everyone in the bar gasped. Oh my God, said someone. I was worse than anything anyone had expected. Mr. Hall stood with her mouth open. Everyone began to move, shouting and running for the door. They were prepared for scares and injuries, but nothing. Then the man who stood there was nothing, no visible thing at all. In the short while, the parlor was empty. The news spread quickly to the other town people. Soon, a crowd of perhaps 40 people collected in front of Mr. Hall's lodge. Everyone seemed eager to talk at once, and the result was plain nonsense. No head, I tell you, said someone. Did he hurt anyone? Said another. A bogeyman, said a young boy. Nonsense, a magic stick, replied someone else. In the middle of all this arrived Mr. Bobby Zephyrs and Constable. He had come armed with a warrant. Head or no head, said Jeffers. I've got to arrest him and I will. Zephyr marched up the steps straight to the door of the parlor and flung it open. The headless figure sat facing him with a piece of bread in one glove's hand, cheese in the other. What's all this? Said his voice from above his collar. You're a funny yellow fellow, said Zephyr, but head or no head, I've got my arrest. You duty is duty. Keep off, shouted the figure. He moved back a few steps. I'll surrender. It's no good, he continued in a choking voice. It was the strangest thing in the world to hear that voice coming out as if from empty space. But Jeffers simply got up and brought out a pair of handcuffs. Suddenly he said, I say, I can't use these when I can't see his hands. Why am I being arrested by a policeman? Asked the stranger. This is strange to you, perhaps, but it's not a crime. Ah, that's for a different matter, said Jaffer. What I'm after is a robber? It has nothing to do with you being visible. A house has been broken into and money stolen? Well, and the situation certainly points. Nonsense, said the invisible man. I hope so, sir, but I've got my instructions. Very well, said the stranger. I'll come, but no handcuff. All right, replied the constable. The invisible man sat down. He slipped out of his shoes, socks, and trousers. Then he jumped up again and flung off his coat. Here, stop that, said Jeffers, suddenly realizing what was heaping. What was happening? He gripped the stranger's waistcoat. They struggled, and Zephyr was left holding the empty waistcoat in his hands. Hold him, said Zephyr loudly. Once he gave the thing up, hold him, cried everyone. They all rushed toward the white shirt, the only thing that remained on the stranger. But in the moment, the shirt was lifted up and was off. Now nobody knew where the stranger stood. Look out, said everybody, hitting about in the air. Hold him, shut the door. Don't let him loose. I got something. Here is. Everybody, it seemed, was being hit all at once, but it was no use. The invisible man had escaped. Okay, this was the story about a invisible man who is a man without head. I hope you enjoy this story very well. If you enjoy this story, then you can subscribe this channel for more videos like this. Okay, you can learn on this channel math, science, English, EVS, etc. Okay.